Well, hello and welcome back. I'm so glad that you're here. Today, I want to talk a little bit about low-income Christmas gifts, and I am covering the array of people who may be receiving these gifts. I'm a toddler girl mom. I have two daughters. One is 2, one is 4. So I'm going to be covering some of the things that we have gotten them this year for Christmas, as well as our mindset behind how we get them gifts at Christmas time. I'm also going to be talking about some of the ideas and things that we have done for teachers. As a pre-K teacher, I am going to be talking about some of the things I have done for my students, and then of course friends and family, all of the things, but the main categories are going to be children, young children, toddlers, teachers and friends, students, which will, I know, only apply to a very small niche of people, or family. So let's go ahead and jump into it. As always, I do want to make the disclaimer that low income is very relative. Right now, in at least the YouTube world, it just seems like that is such a buzzword, and I want this information to get out there, maybe to help people who are in similar situations as us that just want to save some money. Like I've said before, this does not mean that we are a lower income than maybe someone watching it. It does not mean that we are lower than maybe the people living around us. Maybe we are. I have no idea what they make, but if you're more interested in what our life actually looks like, pretty much everything down to, like, I don't share actual dollar amounts of what we make and what we spend, but I do have a whole playlist titled Single Income that you can go check out if you want more specifics. The brief overview is that I work part-time at my 2 daughters' half-day preschool, and I have, as of this year in the summer, YouTube started to be monetized. So those are kind of my 2 streams of part-time incomes right now. My husband works full-time. He is blue collar, doesn't make like a huge amount, but he is very wise financially. He has always known that I've wanted to stay home full-time, especially when having children. It took us a couple years after having our firstborn before we actually got to have that dream realized. But once we got to the point of me being able to leave the workforce and stay home full-time, or at least be with our children full-time, he has always said that he will not put us in a position to where I need to go back into the workforce unless it is just absolutely necessary. And I'm so thankful to him for that. I know that not everybody has this opportunity. Not everybody has this luxury. And through the power of only the Lord alone, through his grace and his provision, through my husband, through our family, through different opportunities, here we are. So just want to throw that out there. As always, I never want to make it sound like we have nothing. But we also don't have a ton. We are not in the upper class by any means. So we use what we have and we try to use it wisely, but while also saving for long-term investments and dreams and hopes that we've had for a long, long time. So here are the gifts that we are looking into and have already purchased for this 2024 Christmas season. So for our kids, one of the first things that I want to start with is the bigger things. So we have, like I said, a 4 and a 2-year-old daughter. Thankfully, they're interested in a lot of the same things right now, like shows on TV and things of that nature. But the merchandise that goes with these shows is just outrageously expensive if you purchase it new. And I just could not swallow that pill. Like, I know that at some point in the future I may have to, but this year when they're so little and those things are so big and we just don't know how long that phase is going to last for them, I could not bring myself to spend $200 on a toy tower. And so I spent a lot of time. I started back in like September or August, something crazy, pretty much after their birthdays, which were in May and August. I started looking into thrifting these larger items. I started their Christmas list way long ago. And of course, then you have the concern of like, oh my goodness, I hope that they're still interested in this by the time Christmas comes. That's a few months from now. And they're so little, they get excited so easily. Like, things change very quickly. So far that is the case. And we are about a week out from Christmas. So I'm crossing my fingers that the excitement is still there, that they really love these, and I think that they will. But I will say, if you make regular rotations at a couple thrift stores in your area, so again, like, I'm a very lucky girl. I try to take at least one night a week to, after my husband gets home, he hangs out with the girls and I get to go and run errands and plan for these kinds of things. So in those errands, I made it a point back in August or whenever that I was going to go to this same thrift store every single week. It's a large thrift store. It has a lot of selection. It's a chain, so they get donations from the different locations and they kind of spread them around. Like, I know that all of what they get is not simply from donations in our local area, but I have stumbled upon several of these shows merchandise items that the girls asked for and I had on their Christmas list, and as soon as I found them and snagged them at the thrift store for $3 or $4, I took them off that Christmas list so that nobody else would spend $100 or more. There was actually one that I found at the thrift store for $4, and my grandmother had just purchased it for, like I said, like somewhere $75, $100, something like that, and I sent her a message and was like, was this you? Did you buy this? You can return it. Get your money back. And so that worked out really well for more than just us. You know, at this age, they really can't tell when something is thrifted. And I hope that that lasts such a long time. I hope that they are not aware of like what secondhand is, or that they have any kind of negative connotation with that. And I even went to the extent, like, of course you have Facebook Marketplace, and I also got like a little dollhouse off of there. But I would even say, like, if you feel inclined and you are like this close to Christmas and you're like, I really, really wanted that thing for them, but I just could not bring myself to spend that kind of money on it. And, you know, I think that's totally reasonable. Honestly, I think that's probably wise. Like, at the end of the day, we're just lining a big man's pockets whenever we spend all that money on these shows and characters and things. Literally, your kid enjoys them for maybe a year or two. And then it's like, well, never going to get those $200 back. And of course, you enjoy seeing your kid enjoy it. But at the end of the day, there's probably just better ways to go about getting that than spending that kind of money. So all of that to say, what was I saying? That I have even asked on Facebook, like made a post for my friends and family and said, hey, if anyone has these towers and you're looking to get rid of them, because I know kids phase out of things so quickly, and you are willing to sell them for a discounted price, I would love to talk to you. And I've had people respond and reach out to me and say, please take this off my hand. You know, it's always an option, and I would say a very good one. Like I said, I know that this will not last forever. One, because my girls may not always appreciate regifted or thrifted or secondhand items like they do now, but also because there may be items on their wish list in years to come that you just simply can't thrift, like collector's items or just things of more value that you really have to like be careful about where you get them from in order to maintain that value, and hopefully the children can take care of it well enough. And there's just so many things. But for now, if you have young kids and they want these big ticket items that may not last long, I definitely recommend thrifting, consigning, secondhand, Facebook Marketplace it, like go through all of those options before buying a new, even if we are so close to Christmas, because what you might find, I know this because last week, whenever I did my thrift store round, the toy shelves were full. So when I tell you people clean out their toys in preparation to receive new toys at Christmas time or right before it, I'm not kidding. Like, just maybe give it a try, because there was no space on the toy shelves whenever I was there this past week. So just an idea. Another thing, and maybe this is just specific to my own children and their interests, but I would also say based off the students in my classroom at school, this is probably just an age specific thing. Little pencil bags with like their name on it, or even if you don't have time to get their name on it, like just a cute little pencil bag. My girls love unicorns and mermaids and hearts and rainbows and, you know, the girly things. If you have a child that is interested in learning, interested in crafting or coloring or activities, like anything like that, kids at this age absolutely love a good pencil bag. And then I just went to like Walmart and walked down the crayon and marker aisle and picked out some good crayons. Like, I was just going for solid colors, but they actually had swirly colored pencils and swirly markers. And so I got a pack of those for each of the girls to put in their pencil bags. And then I also had someone locally that engraves pencils, and I got a hold of her contact information and got her to make me some for the girls to put in their stocking this Christmas. So they each are getting a pack of pencils that have their little names engraved on them, and it's just the sweetest thing. Then I put some glue sticks in there, and I know that that's not everybody's preference, but for me it's like, okay, you know what, whatever, like we're just gonna go with it. They get so excited over glue sticks, and so it'll be a great time. It'll be really fun, and they'll get really excited. I mean, I don't know exactly how much that cost, but it wasn't that much, and it could have been even less had I not went with like the custom options, the personalized options. So if that's something that again, you think that your child might be interested in, or that a child in your family might be interested in, definitely recommend considering a simple pencil bag with all the things filled in it. They will be so excited. And stickers, you could put stickers in there too, because that's always a big win for preschoolers. Another thing that I like to get my girls every single year is a good cup. And I know that that sounds so boring and so like practical, and what child really loves practical gifts, right? But they really do. Like, they love their cups. I mean, any time of the year when they get a cup, even if it's the cheap ones that like you put in the dishwasher and the very first time it just shrinks down to nothing, they obsess over cups. It does not matter how expensive or how cheap they are. But I like to get some that are actually durable, that are not going to shrink in the dishwasher. And so they do cost a little bit more, and it cuts into the Christmas budget that we have for our children, but it lasts them all year long. And the ones that I got this year actually have like a poppet on the handle, and so it's kind of like a toy too, but I think that they'll really enjoy them. And like I said, I know that maybe that sounds so silly, but last year the cups or the bottles that we got them were like the newbie stainless steel water bottles, and I don't remember the ounces exactly, but I then got decals, and so each of them got their first letter on their cup, and they just thought that that was the most special thing ever. Like, they were so thrilled to have their own cup that the other one couldn't use, and that if the other one did use, then everybody was going to know that they were using the wrong one. So they were very excited about that, and they have been really helpful for us in terms of like actually having quality items to take care of our children with. So if you have Ollie's in your area, this is like a bargain store for anyone who's not familiar. They have so many good options all year round on like workbooks and activity books, coloring books, reading books, like all these things for children. They're right at the front of the store in all the ones that I've ever been in. But I can go in there and just like get lost. Overall, like, my girls just really have a love for learning, and I want to hold on to that as long as I can. I hope that that lasts forever in their little lives, in their little minds. But especially now when they're so young and they're such sponges, like, I think that kids do learn so much through play. But we have a quiet time in the afternoon, and especially my 4-year-old, she loves a workbook, especially if it's like one of those dry erase workbooks. And so I ended up getting a few of those for each of the girls from Ollie's, and they even had a few that were like family STEM workbooks. So they were like more science-based, and they have experiments and ideas for the whole family to do together at home, and they're like $3 or $4 a piece. So that was a really fun option that I got for the girls. I hope it's not something that they're like, why do we have to do work? You know, but it's just something fun that that I think they will enjoy, and it'll help to keep them busy. It'll help to occupy their time, especially as we're out of school for the break, and, you know, upcoming breaks as well, and afternoons when we get home and do our quiet time and things like that. And then, of course, for stocking stuffers, we just do like fun, durable toys. We don't have super huge stockings, so I would love to be able to like fit their cups in there. And I think last year the cups that I got did fit, but this year they're a bit bigger. So they will not, I don't think. Honestly, most of the things I got them probably won't fit in their stocking. They'll just all be laid out like by the Christmas tree. But I got like these giant slinkies from, I think it was from Walmart, and some of their favorite characters on a flashlight, like at Hobby Lobby, I think it was, and just some random things here and there that honestly, like, they're not going to last forever, but they'll be more than like a little trinket that came from Dollar Tree. But even if that's what it was, like, it's a stocking stuffer, you know, so it doesn't have to be super high quality. I just didn't want to put a ton of candy in there. One, because my girls would much rather just have a whole thing of cupcakes. Like, they're much more interested in icing and cake than actual candy itself. And we get so much candy throughout the holidays that we don't need more in our stockings, really. So, and like I said, our stockings are so small that it doesn't really matter what I get. It's probably not going to go in there anyways. Maybe that's the trick for saving some money, is get really small stockings. I don't know. Moving on to teachers, family, friends, just all of the people in your life that like you want to buy things for, but you just don't want to spend a ton of money. Because let's be real, in our family situations, we've, like, on both sides of my family and my husband's family, we have decided that the adults do not buy for one another. Like, we all buy for the children, and that's where it stops, because it just adds up so much if we're all buying for everybody on every side all the time. But honestly, the kids are adding up too. Like, I absolutely adore my nieces, my nephew, my cousins, kids, you know, my little cousins, my big cousins, like I adore them all. I love them so much. But whenever every family gathering you go to, which is like 3 or 4, there's like 4+ kids at each one. It's like, oh my word. Like, I want to get them quality things, but I also am not trying to spend all of our savings on Christmas for teachers and friends that we still want to do things for, but really just do not have the funds for doing. I would just say, for us, some of the things that I have most enjoyed receiving and gifting, things that have seemed to be the most well received as I have gifted them, are the things that are made from home. And I don't mean like crafts for my kids or whatever. Like for family, like grandparents, great grandparents, those kinds of things, they love that stuff. Go for it. Knock yourself out. But I'm talking like for teacher friends at school, for friends at church, for all of these people in life, maybe the family members that you've agreed you're not going to get anything for, but you still want to like give them something because you're like, hey, I really love you and I just want you to like feel that. Some of the things have included, like this year we have done a homemade pancake mix, which has been really sweet. Like Rosie was able to help me and we have like jarred it up and put labels on it and given it to our teachers, and we put other little things with it that we had gotten like off of Temu. But even if we hadn't, we just had this in and of itself, and it's like you're providing Christmas breakfast for someone. And I just think that's the sweetest thing. It takes one thing off of their plate. It takes the brain work out of their Christmas morning or whatever other morning. Like this pancake mix makes plenty. So it goes on and on. They could do it for all of Christmas break if they wanted to, every single morning. But I just found the recipe on Pinterest and it's been a really cool thing to venture into this year. In the past, I've made like little, when I had more time at home, I made little like rice packs that were hot and cold packs, so you could either keep them in the freezer, or if you wanted them to be hot, then you could heat them up in the microwave. I did them for Valentine's Day one year, so mine were in the shape of hearts, but you just like cut a heart fabric and a heart fabric and you sew it together, but leave a little hole and then flip it inside out and put rice in it and then sew up the little hole. And that's that. And so like you can do any shape obviously, but I've heard a lot of people do those for gifts, and they always go really, really well. In the past as well, when I had more time at home, I've done handmade quilts, and that's always a hit. Like people love that. But that takes a ton of time. Like that has to be a work of art, you know? And then on a more simple note, you could even do like a bread kit. Like if someone wanted to get into making homemade bread, or even if you have sourdough, you could give them some of your starter and just like get them started. Like that requires nothing other than like a scoop of sourdough starter, you know? Making homemade elderberry syrup, I have loved doing that over the years. A little goes a long way. Just getting people into the habit of like gifting practical things that make life a little bit easier for one another and make life a little bit cleaner for one another. You know, like me, if I was to put together a dinner box for my friend, then I would be giving them like probably a salad, an entree, a dessert, and some bread. And like that's definitely simpler for them because they're not having to cook it, but they have all the ingredients to do so. And through that, they're not having to run out because they don't know what to cook and they ran out of time that day. Speaking of, I probably need to thaw out meat for dinner tonight. Somebody give me a dinner box, please. But then it also, like, you're choosing the ingredients. So you get to choose exactly which ones you put in it. And then always recommend watching out for food sensitivities or allergies when you do something like that, because we do have several people in our life that are like gluten-free, or they can't have milk, they can't have dairy, they can't have, you know, whatever it is. And so definitely kind of know who you're giving it to if you're going that route. Okay, and then for my students, like I said, this is going to be a very particular group that finds interest in this, so I'll just keep it brief and make it quick. We actually did hand embroidered Christmas ornaments this year. So my co-teacher found this online. We didn't come up with it our own, but I used to have an Etsy shop where I did hand embroidery, so I already had all this stuff for it, but it's so simple, and I don't think people realize how simple it is. You just don't maybe know what tools you need, so let me just share that with you real quick. You need an embroidery hoop, so I think I used 4-inch hoops, and then you need a water-soluble marker. So they sell these at, I think Walmart has them, I know Hobby Lobby does, Amazon has them. I'll have all this linked down below just in case you want to find a quick link. You just have the student use that marker to write their name on a piece of fabric. I just used random fabric like that I had in storage. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, anything specific. Definitely would recommend using a light color so that you can see what they've written and not have to like guess at where you're threading it. Then after they've written their name, you take it home or wherever. If you have time at school, do it. I don't know who would, but maybe you do. And I just used like a black thread and normal like needle. And it's really not that hard. You just tie a knot so that it doesn't pull through the fabric, and you just thread away and then tie a knot at the end so that it doesn't come undone. And I put the year on there as well. But then when you're done actually doing all that, you take it out of the hoop and then dip it in water, like fully submerge it, and all of the blue pen will dissolve. And then you just let it dry. And then I put it back in the hoop and trimmed off the edges of the fabric and put a bow on it. And that was how simple it was. I mean, it took a little bit of time, but to see the reactions from the parents and, you know, from the other teachers, like, it's such a sweet thing. I definitely recommend giving it a try. It does not require a ton of expertise or experience. It's just a really sweet thing that you can gift to your students. I will also say I only have 7 children in my class at school right now. So if you have a class of like 30 kids, you're going to need a chunk of time for this. Like, you're going to be working a lot between now and Christmas. I think that it would be really neat though to see, like, if you had someone in your life that could do that year over year, or if you learn how to do that and could do it year over year for your child, and just see how like their penmanship evolves from now until, you know, whenever they get fluent in their handwriting. I just think that that is such a sweet keepsake, and it's something that you can have forever and ever. And I'm just so glad that my co-teacher showed that to me, and I wanted to share it with you as well. And then another thing that would be along the lines of maybe like family members or really close friends, probably just family members. And it kind of ties into the sentiment of like your children making crafts for them, or maybe a quilt that you've spent a lot of time on, but using old baby clothes from your children to make items for family members. So you can look up on Pinterest some ideas, because there's a lot, and there's still a couple that I am wanting to try for this year's Christmas that I've not gotten to yet. So in case any of my family members see this, I do not want to spoil anything, but I have a box like yay big of baby clothes from when my girls were really young. I mean, even still, I add to it each time that my 2-year-old ages out of clothes and she doesn't have anyone here to pass them down to. I still keep those in the box, and I think, well, that's just a little bit too special or too sentimental for me to pass on to somebody or for me to donate. So I'll just hold on to it. I can always come up with a craft for them. I've seen where you can make full quilts out of baby clothes and then give them to the child as, you know, like when my daughters grow up, or maybe I have a quilt for each of them made out of their baby clothes, or you can use them for all kinds of other things. So just like I said, go look into that. If you have a box or a bag or anything sitting around in storage that you're like, oh, I really love that, and like maybe this person even bought that for my child and I just don't feel like I can get rid of it, like that has a lot of attachment, like personal and emotional attachment. I'm not ready to do that yet. Maybe the better option than it sitting there collecting dust, not knowing if it will ever get used again, is to repurpose it. Use it in some way that benefits both them and you, and that you can both enjoy it so much more than how you maybe are at the current moment. I hope that maybe some of these things have been useful. We do buy like new gifts from a list off Amazon, whatever. And especially like for my husband, I'm not above like giving a thrifted box of things that I find at the store that he might enjoy to him. I mean, my parents did that for several years, and I always loved that. Like, they would buy presents from each other's list, new, and then they would also do like a Goodwill box or whatever. And there was always some good stuff in there. So it's not like I'm opposed to that. I just know that like he likes what he likes, and he has a lot of clothes. He has a lot of the things that I see at the thrift store that would suit him, that would fit him. He already has a lot of that. So whenever he puts things on a list, they're things that he really, really wants. And He has given me so much more than I could have ever wished for or deserved. So I just want to really bless him and give him exactly the things that he has asked for. So I do buy new for usually always his gifts because he doesn't ask for them much. So when he does, I get them. And then like for our girls, we have a couple of things that they have said they wanted, and they were characters and figures from the shows and stuff that these big thrifted towers that we got go along with, that they're associated with. So we bought a set of those for each of the girls and like some different things here and there. But overall, we just try to be really intentional and really savvy with the things that we spend money on, and just to make sure that we can spend it when we do, just to make sure that we don't like go crazy in every single area, because it can be really easy to get excited over getting people presents. And while I don't think that that's a bad thing by any means, especially for our children, I have to constantly remind myself that we are setting a precedent. Like right now, our girls are starting to understand that at Christmas we get to open presents. And I think that that's something they're going to remember, moving forward. And what I don't want them to hold on to is our living room floor is going to be covered every square inch every single Christmas, because that's what Christmas is. Obviously, we want Jesus to be the focus on Christmas, and none of this stuff will come with us into eternity. But there is a lot of excitement that comes from a child opening a present that they've asked for and now they're receiving. And so we want these things to always point back to the ultimate gift of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, being born in a manger on, maybe not on Christmas, but when we celebrate, it's Christmas. So we just want to keep things focused on what's important and what is correct and accurate and all of those great things. And also remember that whatever the expectation is set at is what the expectation will be. If they have a room full of presents to wake up to this year, they will expect that next year. And next year, the items on their list may not be able to be thrifted or, like $5 slinkies. They may be, really expensive things. And so we just have to manage those expectations and know that it'll be easier in the long run if we manage those now, if we set those now, and then we can walk through them kind of prepared moving forward, versus thinking like, oh my goodness, all of the things that they want right now are so inexpensive and so easy to just run and buy or to order off of Amazon, and they're going to be so excited over it. Like I said, what I'm having to tell myself often, what I'm having to learn as still a first-time mom, like, I have 2 children, but my oldest child is 4. So I'm still very young in motherhood, and I'm still at the point, like I said, where she is just now starting to kind of get what happens around Christmas time. And so we're walking through that really for the first time this year, and just trying our best to keep things realistic and to make life a little bit easier down the road while still fully enjoying the season that we're in with our girls, with our family, with our friends. And we've just been so blessed. We want to give back to those around us. We want to fully bless the people that God has blessed us with, not because we feel like we need to, or we are supposed to, or we are expected to, but because we just want to. And so I hope that you have people in your life that you feel the same about this Christmas, and that you can come up with creative, not overly expensive ways to show them that they are important to you. And sometimes that is simply sitting down and having a cup of coffee with someone. That does not have to be anything large, extravagant, overly time consuming. It just doesn't have to be. It doesn't. So I hope that you found encouragement from this. I hope in these last few days leading up to Christmas, you slow down and enjoy all that this season has to offer, and that with every gift that you receive and every gift that you give, you just thank the Lord for how very blessed you are. I probably won't be posting anymore before Christmas, so I will see you afterwards. I don't know, I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants right now because school is coming to an end and we have so much going on there. Plus, like, trying to get my Christmas content out for YouTube. There's just a lot happening. And then, like actual life stuff, like family and stuff. But I do want to share some kind of content about Christmastide, which